Communism, the only path to happiness for the working masses by Xuefeng. Communism, in essence, is about sharing. The greater the degree of sharing, the higher the value of things. The most effective way to maximize the value of all resources is through sharing, which is the crux of communism. Humans are inherently selfish, thus instinctively rejecting communism, especially when one possesses some material wealth. Even a person impoverished to the point of owning just a broken bicycle would be reluctant to share it with others. Such is human nature. When a person not only possesses material wealth but also power, status, and reputation, there's a tendency to want to live a slightly better life than others, to be envied, thus satisfying one's vanity. Therefore, sharing becomes even less appealing. Since Marx founded the doctrine of communism, the movement has largely been propelled by violence, harming the interests of the bourgeoisie. Marx's theories of communism were flawed and incomplete. Combined with the extreme blindness in the actions of communist practitioners, these factors led to the failure of the communist movement. Hence, the natural aversion and resistance to communism are understandable. Based on historical experience, those who demonize and resist communism are understandable, even justifiable, as historical, communist movements have deviated significantly from true communism. True communism is refined, gentle, civilized, not coercive, violent, or about depriving others of their property. Who has suffered more throughout human history? Undoubtedly, it's the working masses, the ordinary people, whose conditions haven't significantly changed over thousands of years, still bearing the brunt of suffering. Growing up in Asia, spending over a decade in Africa, nearly 4 years in North America, and a few months among the indigenous tribes of Oceania, I've deeply felt and experienced the pain and troubles of the working masses. To alleviate the suffering of the working masses, I immersed myself in the Bible, Buddhist scriptures, the Quran, and the Tao Te Ching, and also delved into Western and Eastern mystical practices while constantly monitoring global climate and ecological changes, as well as global political shifts. I want to tell humanity that the only bright path for the working masses is communism. So, what is communism? I've explained some theories, but no theory can fully reveal the essence or encompass the entirety of something. Only by creating something tangible, allowing people to see and deeply engage with it, can they truly understand. Thus, with the Chanyuan Celestials, we created the Life Oasis, formerly the Second Home, which embodies pure communism. To understand and grasp what communism is, one should visit and experience the Life Oasis created by Lifechanyuan. Many equate communism with utopia, which isn't incorrect. Utopias are embryonic forms of communism, and historically, almost all utopias have failed. To understand why, I closely analyzed historical utopias, especially the New Harmony, founded by the utopian socialist Robert Owen in the United States, identifying the core reasons for their failures in a dedicated article. The key issue was that utopian leaders lacked a clear understanding and blueprint, merely crossing the river by feeling the stones, doomed to drown amid strong currents and whirlpools. To differentiate from historical communist theories and practices, I refer to the Life Oasis created by Lifechanyuan as Xuefeng-style communism. This form of communism can resolve territorial disputes between nations, reduce overconsumption of natural resources, tackle corruption among government officials, prevent tragedies like Yang Jia's case, reduce crime by 75%, ensure people live and work in peace and contentment, eliminate wars, unrest, refugees, and famines, and more than halve the suicide rate, allowing 98% of people to live happily, joyfully, freely, and blissfully. Who are the working masses? The working masses are those who endure suffering for food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, aging, illness, and death throughout their lives, those who toil yet remain financially strapped, those who endure mistreatment, hardship, and injustice, those who yearn for wealth year after year but remain impoverished, those lacking security and hope, those who despise government officials yet must feign respect and flattery, in short, anyone striving for a better life through their own. labor and diligence. The harsh reality is that those seeking a better life through hard work will never escape troubles, pain, anxiety, and fear. It was so thousands of years ago, it is so today, and it will remain so thousands of years from now, unless there's a complete shift from traditional production and living modes to Xuefeng-style communist society. Otherwise, it remains a dream passed down through generations. Moral education has always been fragile and ineffective. The moral teachings of Christianity, Buddhism, Islam, Confucianism, and various philosophers easily collapse in the face of reality. Look at contemporary China, where all government officials, members of the Communist Party, were raised under Mao Zedong's moral teachings. Yet, faced with monetary gains, they've shelved Mao's thoughts, with corruption reaching staggering levels. Not satisfied with millions or even billions, some embezzle staggering amounts. Have these servants of the people ever cared about the lives of people like Yang Jia or the working masses? Has decades of moral education been effective? Clearly not. The recent U.S. presidential election further illustrates the failure of moral education. With the election results still undecided, mainstream media rushed to declare Biden's victory, followed by congratulations from leaders of democratic nations like the UK, France, Germany, Israel, and even Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen, regardless of the final outcome. Respecting facts and listening to the people's voices and wishes are the basic foundations of morality. With the U.S. election count incomplete and facts yet to emerge, the premature declarations by the media and international congratulations violate basic moral principles and legal procedures. It's worth noting that most people in Western societies have received Christian moral education. Where is the morality of the mainstream media and international leaders? With such moral standards in democratic countries, let alone non-democratic nations. The reality tells us that to ensure the working masses live happily, moral education alone is insufficient. All forms of spiritual comfort are merely sedatives. Current Buddhist preachings are also sedatives, and calls to return to traditional Chinese culture are like advocating for men to wear queues and long gowns and for women to practice foot binding. Religious preachings are essentially poisons. Those genuinely concerned for the welfare of the working masses should seek and establish a system, as systems are the fundamental guarantee for the happiness of the working masses. Claims of caging power within the system and ensuring government officials dare not, cannot, and do not want to be corrupt are commendable. However, if the system itself is the best soil for corruption, it won't just fail to curb corruption but will become a breeding ground for it. Can such a system truly contain power and prevent corruption? China has undergone many dynastic changes throughout history, but what has been the outcome? It's merely changing the soup but not the medicine. People change, but the system remains the same, inevitably leaving the working masses just as they were, without fundamentally altering their nature or destiny. Without changing traditional production and living modes, no change in leadership will suffice, not even the adoption of American-style democracy with its separation of powers. If the presidency, judiciary, legislature, Congress, and media are all controlled by one's relatives and cronies, can the working masses truly expect freedom and happiness? Only Xuefeng-style communism is the sole path to happiness for the working masses. The production and living model of the life oasis created by Lifechanyuan is paradise for the working masses. Many among the working masses, harboring hope, believe that by striving hard, they can ascend to the upper echelons of society and lead superior lives. Indeed, there's a chance among 10,000 that one or two might achieve this dream, but the probability is exceedingly low, not a path accessible to the vast majority of the working masses. Some, considering themselves no longer part of the working masses because they own $1 million house or a car worth tens of thousands, are merely deluding themselves. Without fuel for 3 days, your car is just scrap metal. Without food for 3 days, your $1 million house is merely a shelter. In times of severe illness or disaster, your property and car won't save you. Some working masses, believing they've secured a stable job as government employees, envision a bright future, but that's also a form of self-comfort. In old age, the reality of its bitterness will become evident. Xuefeng-style communism is not only the path to happiness for the working masses but also for capitalists, government officials, and those seeking spiritual enlightenment. The rationale behind this is too extensive to cover in one article. Those with doubts are welcome to ask, allowing Chanyuan celestials who have lived and experienced Xuefeng-style communism to respond. Remember this, communism is the only path to happiness for the working masses and the sole way forward for humanity. November 20th, 2020. ChatGPT